In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. Turner, you won't believe this, but I need your help. The voice on the other end of the line was unmistakable. It was John, an old friend and arranger who had always been skeptical of the supernatural. Now his voice echoed unease, setting the stage for a tale that would chill even the most hardened souls. John told me about a man named William who had wandered into the eerie depths of Oakhaven Forest. William was on a mission, driven by a past tragedy. His son had vanished years ago, and he was convinced that a monster, a creature of the dark, was the culprit. "A monster, John? Are you sure?" I asked, my skepticism ringing clear. I had heard many stories during my years in the army, but this was something different. John's response was grim and filled with a certainty that sent a shiver of unease down my spine. I wish I wasn't, but this is no ordinary situation. He explained how William's son had disappeared without a trace, leaving a father haunted by loss and consumed by a need for justice. The forest of Oakhaven, notorious for its dark reputation, was where William believed the monster resided. I had heard the tales, but had always brushed them off as mere superstition. Now I found myself agreeing to help, drawn into a mystery that was as chilling as it was intriguing. As we delved deeper into the case, we discovered that William was no ordinary man. He was a former soldier, skilled and disciplined. His determination to find the monster was unsettling, hinting at a darkness that was as much a part of him as the grief he carried. The more I learned about William and his quest, the more I realized that we were stepping into unknown territory. This mission was unlike anything I had ever encountered. The eerie atmosphere of Oakhaven Forest, the unsettling stories, and the grim determination of a grieving father formed a chilling backdrop to a tale that was only just beginning. "I wish I wasn't, but this is no ordinary situation." John's words echoed in my mind as we prepared to step into the heart of the forest. The call that started it all had been a harbinger of the chilling journey that lay ahead. We reached the rendezvous point in Oakhaven, and we were joined by an FBI agent named Dennis. His reputation preceded him as a man who had seen the unexplainable, the unusual, and the downright eerie. Dennis had a knack for the paranormal, a skill set that was proving to be more valuable than we could have ever imagined. Our meeting point was shrouded in the foreboding aura of Oakhaven Forest. The trees stood tall, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, casting long, eerie shadows. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, a silence that seemed to echo with the whispers of the unknown. This was the playground of the monster that had stolen William's son, a creature that existed in the realm of nightmares. William was a man haunted, his eyes carrying the weight of loss and determination. His face, etched with years of grief and resolve, told a story more chilling than any ghost tale. As we gathered around him, he began to unravel his tale, a tale that had led him on a relentless pursuit of the monster in Oakhaven. He spoke of years spent in the shadows of this forest, collecting stories, eyewitness accounts, and evidence that pointed to the existence of a creature that defied all logic and understanding. William's voice quivered as he spoke of the night his son was taken, the terror in his son's eyes as a monstrous figure dragged him into the darkness, the futile chase, and the echoing silence that followed. It was a story that sent chills down our spines and cemented our resolve. His research was not just a collection of tales, but a cryptic guide to the monster's lair. He had traced patterns, followed leads, and pieced together a puzzle that had led him back to Oakhaven time and time again. His conviction was unwavering. The creature was real, and it was still out there. As we prepared for our journey into the heart of darkness, William's words echoed in our minds. The forest seemed to close in around us, its secrets lurking in the shadows. Despite the fear gnawing at our guts, we were ready. Ready to face the monster, ready to unearth the truth, ready to step into the realm of the unknown. He had become convinced that the creature was still lurking in the forest, and he was determined to face it head on. And so, Under the watchful eyes of Oakhaven, we steeled ourselves for what lay ahead. We embarked on our journey into the heart of Oakhaven, armed with weapons and flashlights. The forest loomed ominously before us, a vast brooding wilderness that swallowed the sunlight and made the world outside seem like a distant memory. The dense canopy rustled softly, whispering secrets only the trees knew. Our path was a winding trail of shadows and uncertainty, leading us deeper into the heart of the forest. As we journeyed on, the forest began to reveal its unsettling nature. Strange, unearthly sounds echoed through the woods, winding their way around the gnarled trunks and weaving through the undergrowth. Each rustle, each crackle, each whisper seemed to hint at something lurking just out of sight. The shadows danced and shifted, teasing our senses and playing tricks on our minds. Our footsteps were muffled against the forest floor, the only sign of our intrusion into this ancient realm. The air was thick with tension, a tangible sense of unease that clung to our skin and prickled at the back of our necks. Dennis, the FBI agent, reminded us to remain cautious. We were venturing into the unknown, possibly even supernatural. As the sun began to sink behind the trees, the forest seemed to come alive in a whole new, eerie way. The once familiar shapes twisted into grotesque forms, and the shadows grew longer, reaching out with dark tendrils that seemed to grasp at our very souls. Nightfall in Oakhaven was no ordinary darkness. It was a living, breathing entity filled with whispers and secrets from a world unseen. We chose to set up camp as the last rays of daylight faded, the forest around us swallowed by an all-encompassing darkness. The light from our flashlights cut through the night, creating a small island of safety in the sea of shadows. But even within this circle of light, we felt the forest watching us, waiting. Our flashlights casting long, wavering shadows that danced around us, whispering tales of the unknown and setting the stage for the chilling encounter that was yet to come. Then, as we huddled around the campfire, a guttural growl pierced the night. The sound was chilling, a deep, resonant growl that seemed to echo from the very bowels of the forest. It was a sound that was not of this world, a sound that promised unspeakable horrors lurking in the shadows. The growl was long and drawn out, a low, menacing rumble that echoed through the trees and sent a chill down our spines. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, a disorienting cacophony of sound that left us with an overwhelming sense of dread. We froze, our hearts pounding in our chests, as we strained our ears for any other sounds. The forest was eerily silent, the usual nighttime chorus of insects and animals replaced by a deafening quiet that was even more unsettling. The only sound was the crackling of the campfire, its flickering light casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to take on a life of their own. William's face was pale, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and anticipation. He had waited for this moment for so long, his entire life consumed by his quest for revenge, and now the monster he had been hunting was finally within his reach. He stood slowly, his breath ragged as he stared into the darkness. His hand tightened around the handle of his weapon, his knuckles white with the effort. He was a man on the edge, caught between his burning desire for justice and the very real fear of what he was about to face. The rest of us could only watch in stunned silence as William took a step toward the forest, his weapon raised and ready. We were in uncharted territory, dealing with a creature that was beyond our comprehension. The fear was palpable, a tangible force that seemed to press down on us, suffocating us with its weight. And then a sound pierced the silence. A child's voice, faint and haunting, echoed through the trees. It was a desperate plea, a call for help that seemed to resonate from the very heart of the forest. We froze in our tracks, the voice washing over us like a chilling wind. I glanced at William, his face ashen, his eyes wide with recognition and disbelief. The voice, it was his son's, reaching out to him from the abyss. A shiver ran down my spine. The forest, once filled with the innocent chirping of crickets, now echoed with the ghostly voice of a lost child. A lump formed in my throat as I watched William, his body trembling, his hands clenched tightly around the photo of his son. His gaze was fixed on the dark expanse of the forest, his heart echoing the desperate call of his child. And so we ventured deeper into the forest, led by the voice of a child who was no longer with us. William's face turned ashen as he recognized the voice. It was his son's voice calling to him from beyond the grave. We followed the eerie voice, our hearts pounding in our chests. The forest, once familiar and inviting, had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. Each rustle, each snap of a twig, amplified our fears, our flashlights barely penetrating the gloom. The towering trees seemed to lean closer, their branches reaching out like skeletal arms, as if trying to ensnare us in a web of dread. The voice grew louder, more desperate, a phantom cry in the heart of the wilderness. William's face was a mask of determination and despair. The voice of his son, lost but not forgotten, was a beacon in the darkness, guiding us deeper into the heart of the forest. We ventured further, the forest closing in around us, a claustrophobic cocoon of foliage and fear. The air grew colder, the silence deeper, broken only by the haunting voice that echoed through the trees. It was as if the forest itself were holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable, and then we saw it. Standing in a small clearing, bathed in an otherworldly glow, the creature was a nightmare come to life. It towered over us, a grotesque silhouette against the moonlit sky. It was a hulking figure, its form shifting and indistinct like a shadow given life. Its eyes glowed a fiery red, piercing the darkness, and its teeth, gnarled and sharp, glistened in the dim light. The sight of the creature was enough to freeze the blood in our veins. Its presence was oppressive, a heavy weight in the pit of our stomachs. But there was something else, too, a sense of profound sadness, a raw, primal grief that resonated with our own. We stood there, transfixed, caught in the creature's malevolent gaze. The voice had stopped, replaced by an uneasy silence that hung over the clearing. The creature's eyes never left us, its gaze unblinking, its intent unknown. It was a grotesque, hulking figure with glowing red eyes and gnarled teeth. William raised his weapon, his hands trembling with a mixture of rage and grief. His voice echoed through the chilling silence of the forest, a thunderous accusation that seemed to shake the very air. "You took my son from me." His shout was followed by a brief silence, the forest holding its breath in anticipation. Then a bone-chilling howl erupted from the creature. It was a sound that resonated with such raw, primal energy that it seemed to shake the very foundation of the forest. The towering trees trembled, their branches rustling in response to the creature's agony. The ground beneath our feet vibrated, as if the earth itself was reacting to the howl. The oppressive darkness seemed to recoil, the shadows twisting and shifting as the howl echoed through the night. The creature's form began to distort, its outline blurring and shifting, as if it was being torn apart by the sheer force of its own pain. It was a sight that defied reality, a grotesque dance of shadow and light that was both horrifying and mesmerizing. The howl continued, a haunting melody that seemed to resonate within the very core of our beings. It was a sound that was both terrifying and heart-wrenching, a lament that echoed the grief and loss that had brought us to this haunting confrontation. And then, just as abruptly as it had begun, the howl ceased. The creature's form began to unravel, its once solid figure dissolving into a swirling mass of darkness. With a final anguished wail, it seemed to implode, the darkness consuming it until there was nothing left but a trail of ethereal mist. The monster's form began to distort and unravel, and with a final anguished wail it dissolved into the darkness. The silence that followed was deafening, a stark contrast to the cacophony that had just echoed through the forest. The creature was gone, vanquished. The forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the oppressive darkness lifting as if a heavy weight had been lifted from its shoulders. The confrontation was over. Our hearts were still pounding in our chests, a testament to the terror and awe we had just experienced. We were left stunned and bewildered, unable to comprehend what we had just witnessed. The forest, which moments ago was a stage for our bone-chilling encounter, now seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The eerie sounds that once filled the air had vanished, replaced by the familiar symphony of the night. Crickets chirped, leaves rustled gently in the breeze, and the forest, once an embodiment of our fears, returned to its natural state. We trudged back to our camp, our footsteps heavy with the weight of what we had experienced. The campfire, which had been our beacon in the dark, now seemed insignificant against the vastness of the forest. We sat around it, exchanging glances, our faces etched with shock, disbelief, and a strange sense of relief. William stared into the fire, his eyes reflecting the dancing flames. The monster that had haunted his dreams, the embodiment of his worst nightmare, was gone. His son's voice, that faint, haunting echo, had been silenced. There was a certain closure in knowing that the creature was no longer a threat, and yet it did little to alleviate the pain of his loss. Dennis, the ever-composed FBI agent, seemed shaken. The encounter had left him questioning his understanding of the world, and the reality he had once known seemed distant and unreal. The forest, the creature, the echoing voice, none of it fit into the realm of his comprehension. As for me, Sergeant Turner, I sat there, my mind grappling with the events of the night. The forest, I realized, held secrets that were beyond human understanding. We had come face to face with the unknown, and it had left us with a profound sense of awe and fear. The monster that had haunted Oakhaven had been vanquished, and William had finally found closure for the loss of his son. But as we sat there, under the vast starlit sky, the forest whispered its secrets, reminding us that there were mysteries that were yet to be unraveled, stories yet to be told, and horrors yet to be faced. As we made our way out of the forest, we couldn't help but wonder about the mysteries that still lingered within Oakhaven. The chilling echoes of the child's voice still hung in the air, a haunting reminder of the tragedy that birthed the monster. The forest, once seen as a haven of natural beauty, now held a more sinister allure. Its twisted undergrowth and towering trees bore silent witness to the horrors we had encountered. The legend of the monster, born out of a father's grief, had become a reality for us. We had seen it with our own eyes, its grotesque form etched into our memories. Its haunting howl still echoed in our ears, a chilling reminder of the unearthly power it possessed. The creature was a tangible manifestation of the pain and sorrow that had consumed William, a chilling testament to the depth of his loss. As we trudged through the forest, the weight of our encounter bore heavily upon us. We were no longer the same men who had first set foot in Oakhaven. We had been touched by the unknown, our realities shattered, our perceptions forever altered. The boundaries of what we thought possible had been stretched beyond recognition. We were left with a profound sense of awe and terror, a feeling that would linger long after we left the forest behind. We emerged from the forest, the early morning light casting long shadows across the landscape. The world outside Oakhaven seemed strangely mundane, untouched by the horrors we had witnessed. We were a band of survivors, bound together by a shared experience that defied explanation. As we left Oakhaven behind, we carried with us a sense of unease. The forest had revealed its secrets to us, but at a cost. We had come face to face with the unknown, and it had left us with a profound sense of awe and terror that would stay with us for the rest of our lives. And so, our tale of the Campfire Horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The Campfire Horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So, if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us. Until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.